Thank you for joining us on Backstage with Randy Phillips. I am Randy Phillips. If you've been around Texas country music at all, you're going to know the name Cory Morrow. He's a legend. And I'm honored to have him as my special guest on today's Backstage with Randy Phillips. Cory's story is legendary. In the Lone Star State, he's been writing and recording music since 1993. His life story is full of highlights and, some other lights, which he'll openly talk about with great transparency on today's podcast. So let's get ready to dive in. But before we do, I'd like to invite you to follow and subscribe to the show. We'd love to hear from you. Tag us on social media at Life Family Media and give us your feedback. Who knows? We might even read your comments on the show. Now, are you ready? Let's go backstage with country music legend, Cory Morrow. Well, hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Randy Phillips. You're listening to Backstage with Randy Phillips. My guest today, Cory Morrow. Hello, Cory.
Hello, Randy. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. I love you.
Well, I love you back.
Loved you for a long time. Loved you longer than you loved me. What's the difference in Texas country and mainstream country?
Get asked that a lot. I think the difference is that there's more of a songwriting piece to it, that the Texas country artists kind of pride themselves on writing their own music from experiences that they've had. And so they're more storytelling type of music, just in general. But it's changed a little bit since we started. And I think I'm not really sure what the difference is at this point.
Okay, well, whatever it is, you are like the Texas country artist,
I would say,
in my opinion.
I would say a Texas country.
Well,
thank you.
But
the one in this room.
The one that I'm interviewing right now. Cody Johnson.
Yes.
You like him?
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
He just gave you a big shout out.
He did. Yeah.
He said you were one of his first Texas country concerts.
Yeah. And it was very, very kind. He's always been extremely generous and kind to me, even when I was not towards him. When we first met and he was opening shows for us, I think I had a little temper tantrum about something that he did, and it struck a chord with him. And
a good chord?
It was a learning experience. He said, you weren't necessarily kind about it, but you made me see things in a different way. And I was like, kind of mortified, thinking, what have I done? I didn't mean to be ugly or rude.
Yeah.
But I think I let whatever was going on in that day affect me. And but he didn't hold it against me, and we both laughed about it. And then I'm kind of watching his career start to grow. And I said, listen, you're opening for me right now. I said, the day's going to come when you'll be playing the mega domes and the ultra domes. And I said, when that day comes, will you do me a favor and let me open up for you?
Don't forget me.
And he said, absolutely. And he held true to his word.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he had me come open for him, I'm sure against his booking agent's desire, at a really big dome in Houston, not the Astrodome or whatever, but it was one of those places
in Houston. How cool is that?
And it was very cool. And he jumped up on stage during the show and sang a little bit with me. And
man,
he's a really, really good man. I've been super impressed with the way he handles himself.
That's amazing. Great story. Cody Johnson. Cory, you're married with 4 children?
5. Four boys and a girl in that order.
In that order, you just kept like, would there have been?
We went 1 boy, 2 boys, 4 boys, and a girl.
You were just going to keep going till you got the girl?
Yes.
Or
that was my intention.
There could have been an entire Morrow baseball team.
We would have had to, my wife would have had to learn she'd get her CDL to drive the kids around. But right now, I always looked at it in terms of the vehicle that you drive. When we had 2 boys, we could drive anything really, as long as it wasn't 2-seater sports car. And then when we had the 4 boys, we kind of had to have an SUV or something larger. And actually, we had to have a third row with 4 boys, right? Because if all 6 of us are going to be in the car, you have to have something with the third row. And then with the 5th child, I said that needs to be a suburban type. And she said, "What about a minivan?" And I felt like I lost all my maleness.
Yeah,
I drove that for a while. I did come up with a great idea, though.
What is it?
The Suburban and Excursion, Ford and Chevrolet should take the sliding door, which is just the middle door, and make that the second door on their vehicles. That way, because that's what the moms like, is the ease of, and they can get in and out anywhere, and the doors won't open and hit the cars next to them.
Exactly.
Because your 5-year-old's just going to swing the door open. And I kept bringing it up to the people that I know at the dealerships.
What did they say?
They said it's a great idea. And then just this year, Toyota announced that they've got a full-size SUV with a sliding door.
Get out of here.
I'm not kidding. They took my idea. I'm just glad somebody did it. I just wanted somebody to do it. I don't want money or credit. I just wanted it to happen.
I love it. I think they should,
it's genius.
And you get a downloaded Cory Morrow song.
Right. Or Randy Phillips, Craig and Dean, or Cory Morrow song just implemented into the.
Yes.
But I think
standard equipment.
The man can drive the big SUV truck and feel good about it.
Yes.
And the mom can drive with the not worrying about the car doors.
Exactly.
And the ease of the in and out.
Brilliant.
It's genius.
Yes.
We should go into business together.
What's the names of your children?
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on certain days. It's Bear is the oldest.
Bear.
He was named because we couldn't.
Is that literally his name?
Mm-hmm. That's his given name, Bear. Bear Allen, after his grandfather. But we couldn't come up with a name. He was our first kid, and we couldn't find a name that we both liked. And that was my nickname for my wife. I called her Bear, Boo Bear, and Bear. So I call her sort of pet name. And then I said something to her, and I said, "Hey, Bear, would you do this?" And then I said, "What if we called him Bear?" And she looked at me, and she kind of twisted her neck, and she said, "Well, I like it, but what are you going to call me?" And I said, "Give me a minute." And I went around the corner and thought for a second. I came back and I said, "What about Bunny?" And she said, "Bunny?" I said, "Yeah, you'll be Bunny and he'll be Bear." And she says, "I love it." So she's Bunny and we have Bear. He's the first one.
All right.
Then Waylon Jennings, and Waylon Payne is a friend of ours as well. And so there was a lot of influence there with that. Waylon James, and then Wesley and Worth, but it's actually Luke Ainsworth. And there's a whole story there, but we call him Worth. Worth. Ainsworth is my mother's maiden. It's my mother's grandmother's maiden name. So it's my mom's middle name, and it's family name. And so my wife wanted to name one of the twins Ainsworth something, and I said, and she said, "We'll call him Worth." And I said, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't like that." And we fought, and the moms and the dads all got involved, and I stood my ground, and it was a big no, and everybody said, "Okay, fine." So it was Wesley and Luke, and then about 6 months after they were born, my friend Doug Moreland came on the bus with his son, who was about 9 at the time, and his name was Worth, Wirth. And I had forgotten that he named his son Worth. Came home and told my wife what a neat name that was. And she looked at me and she walked into the bedroom and put her face in a pillow and screamed and came back out. And I realized in that moment what had happened. And I said, "We're going to start calling Luke Worth now, aren't we?" And she said, "Yep." So, all right. So Wesley and Worth, and then Daisy Diane. Everybody has first and second names.
Daisy Diane. So these names they mean something. They're just not, they weren't trending.
Right. Yeah. Wesley was stories from the Princess Bride. Wesley, my sweet Wesley. And she always wanted to have a boy named Wesley. That was my wife's. She liked that. So that kind of brought back some of her family growing up, so put that in there. And Luke, I just always wanted to have a son where I could say, "Luke, I am your father."
I am your father.
Yeah, and so I do that every so often.
And you've been married to Sherry for
we were 15 years this year.
15. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Is it wood, paper,
I don't know.
Rock, an emerald? What is 15 years? There's something.
It's usually diamonds. Just go with diamonds.
Just wait for diamonds. Isn't that 50 though?
It'll be fine.
Oh, you'll be good. Whatever it is, just get her a diamond. Thanks for that.
Always diamonds. When did you know people enjoy? When did that light bulb moment where like people enjoy hearing me sing? And I could parlay this into a career. Was it a crystallizing moment, or was it just a process?
I think the moment that I realized that it could be possible was the first show that I had. I sat around a campfire. It was just a fire outside of my fraternity brothers' apartments, and we were playing all the different covers that we could come up with. Robert Earl Keen was a big one at the time, and John Denver and Kenny Rogers and David Allan Coe, and so I'm trying to learn all these songs so that we can sing them around the fire, and that got to be kind of a thing. And I met my buddy Pat Green around the same time, and we started doing that together. But I remember sitting around and playing a song that I had written, that I had just started writing, and my friends kind of looked at me and said, "Did you write that?" And I said, "Yes." And they said that they really liked it.
Really?
And I thought that it really had potential. And that was kind of a crystallizing moment for me. It was that was giving me sort of permission to step forward and to continue to try that direction. And then we got a gig. Pat and I got a gig. These same ne'er-do-wells that I hung out with got us a show at a bar, and all of our friends showed up with dates, and there were about 100 people in the room and 100 people outside trying to get in.
Really?
And they weren't necessarily there to hear me and Pat play. It was just sort of the place to be, but they were very supportive. And I got the idea of what it would be like had they been there for us. And in that moment, I started to imagine them being there, singing along with all these songs that were other people's songs, but what if they were singing along with our songs?
Oh, cool.
There was sort of that idea of wanting to be the center of attention, and that it was possible.
You remember the first time you ever heard your song on the radio?
Mm-hmm. You're right here in Austin, Texas.
In Austin? Mm-hmm. What were you doing?
I was driving my truck for the courier company that I was working for. I was on en route for a delivery.
Really?
Yeah. And I believe I had an ASAP with me, which means there was no time to dilly-dally, tally. What's the word? This is where my kids start cracking up. Like, "Daddy, what are you saying?" I don't know.
It don't matter.
I'm just making up words. There was no time to tarry.
Tarry is good.
Is that it? Right?
Yeah, tarry's good.
Thank you very much. And so we had the two-way radios, and I'm listening to KGSR, and Kevin Connor came on and he played it, and I had given it to him the night before, and he just put the disc in and hit the first song that was on there. And I'm swerving all over Mopac, I'm on Mopac heading south. I'm at like Far West Boulevard, and I'm just having a conniption, and I'm talking on the radio, telling them, "Hey, they're playing my song on the radio." And I'm trying to get a hold of my band. Well, we don't have cell phones. So I said, I need to pull over and call my band. And they said, "You got to get that package delivered now." So I drove to where the package was delivered and picked up the phone there and called them. And by that time it was over, and they missed it, but I did not miss it. I listened to the whole thing. It was great.
There's nothing like that, is it? It's just,
no, it was amazing. It was surreal.
I know.
Right? I'm here, and you don't like, I didn't like the way I sounded, but it was on the radio.
I know.
People were listening to it, and he was giving it praise and saying nice things about it, and maybe, convincing people that it was a good thing.
It is a good thing. Do you have a favorite? I know all the songs you've written are like your kids, so it's hard to pick one. Is there one right now that's like, I'm really proud of how this came together?
It's in general, the one that I like the most, that just kind of gives me a little bit of peace, is a song called "Always and Forever." Always and forever. Yeah, and I've just, that one never fails to give me a sense of peace when I'm singing it, and it's general enough it can be attributed to a song that I wrote for my Lord, or a song that I wrote for my wife, or a song that I wrote for my child. It somehow was crafted it to where it can be given to anyone, and because I had written it for a girl that I was trying to get back into my life, and found out that wasn't going to happen on the day that we were recording it. So I dedicated it to my parents.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is songwriting, do you co-write, or is it something are you more comfortable just getting in a room or getting by yourself and starting the process?
It kind of depends.
Okay.
I used to really like coming home and just sitting down and working it out and trying to write something myself and getting the craft going, and things, life and success and things like that would get in the way. And then the co-writing process became something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And it kind of became a crutch, I think, at one time, but then now it's something where I feel like I'll go to lunch and we'll start to talk, and I'll see how deep we can go. Mm-hmm. And if we can go deep and it's really easy, or at least we can get deep, even if it was hard, then I know that this is a relationship where we can sit down and take our egos and set them aside.
Yes.
And we can start to try to craft something that's meaningful to both of us, and let God get in there. And I always say, I'm just the pen, and I'm asking you to write the words.
Yes.
And so I love the co-writing process.
You've written so many great songs. You're such an accomplished songwriter, performer, a musician, just the whole package.
Thank you.
When I don't tour like I used to, but when we were touring pretty heavily, wake up in a different city every day and that whole thing, my heart was always, I need to be home.
Yeah.
Then when I would come home, my heart would be, I need to be
Providing.
on the road with my fans, or, my craft. The window might be closing, so I got to go. My heart was never where it was supposed to be. Have you ever experienced the misplaced heart, or the wandering heart, or I don't know really what it's technically called, but your heart's never where you're present?
That's what we were saying on the way over here, is that trying to be present seems to take effort. And I don't know where that is. It's definitely a struggle. The answer is yes. I find that when I'm on the road, I want to be home. And when I'm home, I feel when I'm home, if the kids aren't home, or my wife's not home and I'm there by myself, I feel as though it's idle time, and I could be doing something that's constructive or productive for the family,
yes,
or even for myself or for my career.
Yeah.
And so I'll go play golf, which is a great way to spend your time.
Oh yeah.
I have a hard time with that, for sure. But I think on the road, I'm kind of coming to a place where when I'm out there, I'm talking about and praying about and reminding myself that I'm out here for one reason, and that's to get on the stage and say the name of Jesus, and then go to the merch table and wait for people to come and ask me about that. That's the reason I leave the house. And then when I'm home, I want to try to put my phone down. I struggle with this a lot every day. Put my phone down and just be present with the kids, look them in the eye, listen to them while they're telling me about their day, and not drift off into the things that I think I need to get done that day. But I keep having to tell myself, my son's talking to me, and I'll find myself saying, listen to what he's saying, pay attention to what he's saying, being able to respond to what he's saying.
Yes.
And it's almost like I'm having two conversations. He's talking to me and I'm talking to myself. But when I do listen to him, when I do respond, and he can tell that I was listening and I'm actually giving a decent response, the relationship grows, and I can feel it grow. I can see it grow in real time, that he's gaining trust, and he's gaining love and respect, and I am for him as well. The younger ones, it's not so much the quality of conversation as much as just tickling them and wrestling with them and playing games with them. Just having the time invested with them is the thing that they need. tea parties with my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to put one of those together. That's I keep telling her, we're gonna have a tea party. We're gonna have a tea party. I need to do that before she turns 18.
You better hurry. The life of touring, the life of music, and in particularly country music, that's your genre. There's an image that you're expected to live, and that comes with some shrapnel, some stuff.
Yeah.
Have you found that life or that image or that whatever has hurt you and your relationships along the way?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I was sitting here wondering too, if on the Christian side of things, if there's any of that
Of course,
that goes on, but it's not as it's almost like it's celebrated for somebody in my genre of music to have a rap sheet, to have mug shots, to have an arrest record, to have a drug problem. Mm-hmm. It's almost like that's sort of par for the course. They expect it.
Yes.
And then they kind of want to see you either learn to write songs and live the rock and roll lifestyle, or get over it and become a better person. I mean, I remember seeing Johnny Cash preaching, and and so you go from all this addiction and all these demons to the battle being won. The relationships have definitely been hurt. I've created relationships with girls over the year that I shouldn't have. And I've mistreated the relationships with them, and then friends as well. My ego would get in the way, and it would, no matter where we were, what we were doing, it would always have to be about me. And I think that has definitely broken some relationships. So yeah, I thought that that's what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I went at it with full
with
persistence.
gusto.
Yeah. I didn't want to back down. I wanted to be the biggest that I could be, and I have a little bit of a rap sheet to prove it, that I was trying really hard.
So your life now, and as you're sitting, you're so different. Along the journey of the imaging of Cory Morrow, the country music, the wild guy, the life of the party, and now juxtapose that with Cory Morrow, a seasoned, balanced man of character, accountable, transparent. What was the journey? How did you get here?
I feel like I'm still on the journey. I think it's daily. Grace. I mean, that's as simple as it can be, right? It's just I feel like he was watching out for me my whole life. When I look back at everything and I take account of the incidences that happened and the way they happened and how I survived and how other people survived, and nobody was terminally injured. He had to have been there with guarding and angels and just making sure that we got through it.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind boggling, the things that I've survived. But that lifestyle transition to this lifestyle, I feel like there's just so much more peace. There's definitely struggles like there were before. I don't go to drink or drugs or women with my struggles now to try to give myself comfort. I have to fight through them. And I think that's the harder part. It's kind of like when I say yes to Jesus, I'm saying no to all these things that used to give me comfort.
Yes.
And now I have to find comfort in him. Yes. And there is comfort in that. And it's funny because I think I'm saying yes to you and now I've got to go fix it. But the truth is, like, if I stop and I read and I pray and I ask for that peace and that comfort, he gives me that.
Yes.
when I get myself into a place where I'm accepting it,
Yes.
I have to open the door. And then opening the door for me is praying and reading and just being with him. But when I forget to do that in the mornings and I get up and start about my day, there's all of this chaos that ensues from all different aspects and places in my life. And I try to fix it, and I don't do a very good job. And then the old me starts to shine a little bit,
So this Cory Morrow here, where you, I had you come to my church, and there was a couple of hundred men there, wanted to hear your music and hear your testimony. And I wasn't sure, like, will he go there or should we not? I said, Cory, do we not go there? Like, well, let's go there. And my word, you went there. One of the stories you told, I don't know if you're comfortable telling this here, but if you're not, it's fine. You came off of the road. This was old Cory. Came off the road, and your wife was waiting there for you. She wanted to have a conversation with you. When you started telling that story, I could feel myself sweating, tensing up.
I tense up every time I tell it. Are you okay telling it, or would you rather not? No, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good, and it's telling that whenever it makes somebody uncomfortable, because if you're not open and honest, and your relationship isn't free from those dark secrets, then it's not a really good, solid relationship. And there's things that need to be confessed and adjusted, and I had a lot of things that I was hanging on to, thinking, and I'll fix this and I won't do this again. That won't happen again. And then it would happen again. And I say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm just not going to do it again. And then I do it again. And each time I kept telling myself, and so, yeah, I came home, and she picked me up from the airport, and I said, can I have your phone? And I thought, oh no, it's not good. And I had been out the night before. I'd been in Denver, went to a football game, but I had gone up there to drink and have fun and pretend to be single. And so I thought, she was wanting to know what I was doing. And we got home when nothing was really said all the way home. And then we got home and she said, listen, I know you've done something, and I'm not going to tell you what I know, but if you tell me the truth, then we might have a chance. And if you don't, then we're done. And I'm thinking, I was thinking there's like all the things that I had done, there was no way that she could have found out about those things. and so I'm just trying to figure out how to get around having to tell her all of them. Right.
Yep.
Trying to figure out what she knows. I'm just sitting there trying to process what does she know? What does she know? So I can work on that. And then I'm panicking, and I think my heart rate was like 200. And I just felt like this overwhelming weird warmth. And then I felt like this light come through the ceiling, and it was just sort of this voice saying, like, confess, tell her everything. And I'm thinking, no way, like I don't know how to do that. And I wasn't just laying it all out there. I was trying each one, and the answer was no, that's not it. I didn't know about that, but that's not it. And so that was, and there comes a point where as each one was landing as a no, I was realizing that we probably weren't going to make it.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, well, I need to figure out what it is. And so I laid out everything that I could think of, and none of them were it. And it came down to, it was something that I was thinking about and planning on, and I had spoken about. And so, so that came out. And then there were some other things that I had, it took me a couple of weeks to come back, but I finally got everything out. And I went into the other room, and I was just sitting there realizing, like, it's over. My marriage is likely over. My parents divorced when I was 3. My father remarried and then divorced again, and remarried again. And my mother remarried when I was about 11. And my father's parents divorced when I was like 1.
Oh, goodness.
And it's just sort of, it's in the family, right? Yeah. And I had always said, so I never knew my parents married, but I'd always said, I'm never going to get divorced. If I ever get married, I'll never get divorced. Yeah. So it was, my thing was looking at my 2 kids, not wanting them to go through what I went through, and trying to figure out how to salvage everything for their sake. And Sherry and I've had this conversation, and she knows that and it hurt her heart, and it will always hurt her heart to know that was my intention in the beginning. But then I started realizing, I went in the other room and I called a friend, and I said, look, I've tried everything. My marriage is probably going to fail, but the thing I haven't tried is Jesus. And I don't really know how to go about doing that. But I feel like that's the one thing that, and I feel like he just spoke to me, but it's the one thing I haven't tried. And I feel like I'm supposed to call you and ask for your help.
Wow. And
he said, of course. And we went to lunch on Monday, and we went to lunch every Monday for a year. And he started walking me through everything and introducing me to different men of God. And
that's outstanding.
And I started chasing it.
Yeah.
And it grew. And there was a moment, many months down the road, but I was hard pressed to find out who he was, and if he could save my marriage. And it came to the conclusion, that it wasn't my marriage that I needed to try to save. It was my soul.
Oh, yeah. And
when I came to that conclusion and I reconciled with it and I accepted it, I surrendered my marriage to God that day. And I said, if we're not supposed to be married, then I accept that. But I know that whatever happens today, I'm giving to you. And it was, I think it was on that day that Sherry saw something change in me. And she said, she looked at me, she says, I'm in it. We're not done. We're going to fight through, and we're going to make this work. And it was, I've had more moments of like a high that I could get with a drug, spiritual, Holy Spirit highs that are physical.
My goodness.
That are really to take you back and put the hair all over your, stand up all over your body. I've had more of those since I've given myself to him than I ever did when I would intentionally go try to get that way. And they're better. And they're
so proud of you, Cory. So proud of you.
Thank you.
So when you were confessing, you were walking into light and the burden was lifting, but the burden was landing on Sherry.
Yeah.
When she kept hearing one thing after another.
Yeah, each time.
How has she come to love and trust Cory Morrow after hearing that?
A lot of time.
Okay.
I think trust is built and earned, and we tell the kids that. And when the biggest thing in our home is to tell the truth, and that if you don't tell the truth, you break the trust. And when the trust is broken, we have to start over, and you have to build that back up, and that takes time, and that takes your example. You have to prove it with the way that you live your life and work within the relationship. And so you set things up so that the opportunities for her to grow in trusting you happen more often. So I put myself in positions where there's no question of my trust. And I put myself in positions where she sees that I'm trustworthy. And I never leave a door shut. I never put myself in a position where there's just me and a girl.
Yeah.
I never, they're not allowed on the bus. I won't be in a room alone. watched Charles Stanley and Andy Stanley talk about the different things. I watched a lot of that and talking about guardrails.
Yes.
And then I read a book called Every Man's Battle.
Yes.
I got heavy into reading. I didn't read my whole life. I was 40 years old when this happened. And I didn't read. I did not read. I didn't like to read. It was hard for me. But man, God just showered me with this desire. And I was reading like a wild man. I was reading books every week.
That's great.
And it was fantastic. And, and so I got all these tools and all this information, all this help, and started working on a new way for me to operate within my marriage and within my business and within my friendships and in my relationships. And it was just all built on just being humble and being truthful and just taking kind of those two ingredients and trying to step into a new world. That the humility part was really hard. The first scripture I ever memorized was Ephesians 4:2, which is be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. And I'm not sure what version that is, but that's the one that I memorized. Beautiful. And it's like, I looked at it and thought, I'm not humble at all. Like everything's about me and everything had to be about me. And I was the loudest person in the room and I was the one always talking. And the gentleness, I would blow up. I would just be ugly. And so, gentle, be patient. I was like, I'm the guy sometimes still in traffic that's behind you honking and throwing,
you're the guy
throwing,
half a peace sign.
Yes. And then, bearing with one another in love. And I just thought, so I needed to work on all of those things, but from humble and I'm honest, and truthful, then that can create, that's like the grounds for trust. And so it's just taken time. But my wife is one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my whole life.
I can't wait to meet her.
She's just incredible. I mean, even when I'm being a jerk and she's a jerk in response to me being a jerk, because it's always that way. She never starts the jerkiness. It's always me, and she'll be a jerk in response, or she'll be good in response. But even when she's being that way, she'll snap. She'll turn on a dime. If I come to her, and I'll there's times when I just get on my knees and I just hold her hand and I just confess. And she just looks at me and she forgives me. She forgives me right there. Like she doesn't hang on to anything. She doesn't ever bring it up again. She doesn't use it against me. It's forgiven. She showed me the picture of Christ's forgiveness really on that day.
What an amazing
and she'll continue
lady.
To do it. She is. Did
you have people say, we love the old Cory better?
Oh, for sure.
This new Cory is no fun. Is not crazy.
A couple of people. Most people will say they remember.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that I find anybody that says anything. Where they think that lifestyle or that me was better. There was one person that he came up to the side stage, and it was not long after I had made some changes in my life. Not drinking was one of them, and not hanging out in places where, like I play in bars, so it's kind of hard not to be around it, but I don't have to go out into the bar and sit at the bar with my friends and drink. Right. So I kind of made a decision not to do that. And he came up side stage and he said, I heard you're not drinking anymore. And I started to say, I said, yeah, and he just said, what is this? It's the sign for bull caca.
Yeah.
He just said that, and then he turned around and walked off. And I thought, oh, well, okay. I guess that wasn't a really good friendship, and that's a bummer. But that was really it. Everybody else just sort of most people just sat back and watched to see if it was going to be a season, and that the season would end, and I'd go back to being the way that I was and the person that I was, and into the things that I was into. And so, the longer that I went, kind of like with trust, the longer that you go showing that that's not who you are anymore, the more people start to kind of come to terms with that, and they start to trust that, okay, this is, you are who you say you are. You have changed like you say you've changed, and I can trust you now because you've proven over time you're not just going to flip.
Yeah. Have you had artists come to you that said, tell me how you did that, Cory? I want to make the change.
For sure.
That's great.
Yeah. It's been the longer I go in this direction, the more that I give my career and give my life to God, the more opportunities he's presenting me. Just being here with you was not something that would ever be on my plate 11 years ago. You know, I don't know that we would really know each other at all. I certainly don't think I'd be out in the congregation. And you may have heard of me from, being on the front page of the paper, getting arrested or something like that. But I don't know that I'd be on the prayer list. But I probably would be on the prayer list. I think I was on a lot of prayer lists. Let me take that back. You may have heard my name from that, but yeah, no. I think this is definitely a much healthier way of living.
I'm so proud of you, Cory. You're a shining example of the grace of God, and just couldn't be more proud of you. If you don't have Cory Morrow's music, my question is, why not? Go to wherever you listen to music and listen to Cory Morrow. Every song is a story that will unravel your heart. So go look up Cory Morrow, support this great man, pray for this great man, his wife Sherry, and his 5 beautiful children. Cory, I love you.
I love you back. Thank you so much for giving me time.
Of course. Cory, thank you. Thank you for your life. You're one of my favorites. Go check out Cory's music or see him on tour at corymorrow.com. That's CORYMORROW.com. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. Help us spread the word. We'll see you on the next episode.